You wake before light to air you can taste. Smoke from last night still hangs low because there is no chimney. Your throat burns and your eyes water. The floor under your back is cold earth mixed with straw and dung. Pigs shift beside your children near the single fire. You have not eaten fresh bread in 3 days. Your lower back already throbs when you sit up. You are 26 and that counts as old here. You own 30 acres you cannot sell. Someone else owns you. This world does not care if you survive. You were born on a manor and the manor owns you. Your father was bound to this land and his father was. The law carries that bond through the male line. You hold a vergate, about 30 acres cut into strips across open fields. You cannot sell those strips and you cannot leave without paying. That head tax is chivage and it marks you as his. The court roll lists you like livestock. Free tenants are called first. You are called after. The reeve reads your name and you answer for strips. If you slip away, the bailiff can bring you back. You ask what fine you will pay to let your daughter marry. You do not know its name yet. You will learn it when she is old enough to be noticed. Your week belongs to the Lord first. You owe 3 days on his domain before touching your own strips. That is week work, and 3 days is the most common standard in England. The reeve wakes you at sunrise and marks who came. You follow an ox plow through heavy clay until your shoulders shake. At harvest, the Lord calls extra boons and you work every day. Your spine keeps a ledger you cannot see. At Warham Percy, a village lived from the 11th to the 16th century. 684 burials were lifted from its churchyard. 11.9% had a clean break in the lowest vertebra. You carry that crack for years and keep bending. What hidden break does that ledger hold inside the bone? You will see them when the soil gives up its dead. Food is mostly grain, and grain is mostly risk. 60 to 75% of your calories come as bread and ale. A prosperous peasant eats 2 to 3 pounds of bread a day. That is 2 modern loaves from rye, barley and oats. You add 8 ounces of meat or fish and 2 to 3 pints of ale. On paper, that is about 3,000 calories. Your bread is maslin, wheat mixed with rye and barley because wheat fails here. You bake on iron plates because you own no oven. You drink ale because pit water brings flux. One wet August can sprout rye on the stalk. What do you call rain that lasts 2 harvests and doubles price twice? You will know its name when the pits stay empty. You think you know how this ends. Everyone names plague, and they are not wrong to name it. A seaman came ashore at Weymouth in June 1348. By autumn, plague reached London, and by summer 1349, it covered England. About 1 in 2 people in England died between 1348 and 1350. That is half your street in 18 months. Manorial accounts show rural tenants dying at 40 to 70%. Wealthy landowners died near 27%. If you lived, the law fixed your wage. The Statute of Laborers in 1351 set pay at pre-plague levels and forced able men under 60 to work. That feels like the answer. It fits the graves and the rolls. It is not the answer. Peaks were rare and your life was short without them. Manorial rolls from Cambridgeshire and Yorkshire studied by L.R. Poos put life expectancy at birth at 25 to 28 years. About 25% of babies died in the first year. Another 20% died before 20. Take a hamlet where 40 children are born. 10 do not see their first birthday and 6 more do not see 20. If you reach 10, you could live another 32 years. If you reach 25, you could live another 23. The rain you asked about has a name. From autumn 1314 to spring 1317, torrential rain drowned harvests for 2 seasons. Yields fell about 40% in 1315 and about 60% in 1316. In some manors, the loss neared 90%. That event is called the Great Famine. It killed 10 to 15% of England without any plague. The soil kept your ledger, and Simon Mays read it. He lifted 684 burials from Warham Percy churchyard. He measured spines that had bent for decades. His team found multiple healed trabecular fractures in lower vertebrae, especially in women. Those are tiny struts inside bone that crush under load and harden again. They tracked with bone loss from poor diet and constant carrying. You haul water, sheaves, children, and soil on the same back. You stoop from dawn until dusk, and by 30, your joints grind. The study found that break in about 12 in 100 people. Today, that rate is 3 to 6 in 100. You were not weak. You were worn from work that never ended. You do not need a famine to go hungry. You need a normal harvest with bad storage. Your grain sits in a pit lined with straw that never fully dries. One leek and rye sprouts on the stalk inside the pit. You eat it anyway because the alternative is nothing. Sprouted rye brings cramps and flux that keep you from the field. You have sold the oats you would eat to pay rent and tallage. That tallage is set by the Lord when he needs coin. Barley for ale becomes bread because no barley is left for ale. You drink water from a shared pit and your gut pays. Hunger here is not empty belly. It is infection that stops work, and work that buys bread. Night is one room of wattle and daub with thatched roof and dirt floor. The walls are woven sticks smeared with mud and straw. The hearth in the center has no chimney, so smoke never leaves. You sleep on straw that never dries, and you share it with fleas. A third of the floor is for animals that bring warmth and dung. Skeletons from villages like yours often show pitted lesions on the inside of ribs. Those mark chronic lung infection, often tuberculosis, from smoke and crowding. Now add being a woman. You manage fire, food, and birth with no help beyond neighbors. Infection after birth kills more women than violence kills men. The fine to let your daughter marry is called merchant, and it marks her as property. You pay it or she does not marry here. The church counts you, and you owe a tenth of every sheaf. That tithe is taken before you eat. If you are accused of theft, the priest once sent you to ordeal. For villains, it was cold water. Bound and lowered into a pit, floating meant guilt and sinking meant innocence. The Fourth Lateran Council in 1215 forbade clergy to bless those rites. Henry III ordered justices to stop using them from 1219. The rolls after that show no more ordeals. In its place came a jury of 12 men from your manor told to say what they believed. Those 12 were not your peers. They were neighbors who depended on the same Lord. Obedience was both faith and law, and you paid for both. At dusk, you sit on straw with your wife and 2 living children. The third died in March from a cough that never cleared. No roll recorded his name. Your wife mends a sack that will hold next autumn's rye if mice leave any. You count on your fingers how many bushels remain after tithe, after rent, after seed. She does not ask what you will do in February. You will do what your father did. You will borrow from the reeve and work 2 extra boons at harvest to clear it. You will not call it debt, and the roll will call it custom. You lie awake and listen to thatch move above you. You are right to push back and say this sounds like everyone died at 26. The rolls show men in their 70s paying Hurriet when a tenant died. That Hurriet was the best beast given to the Lord. If you reached 10, you could pass 50, and at 25, you could see 60. Villanage was not slavery by another name. It guaranteed land when land meant survival and landless meant begging. The manor court settled disputes without walking days to a royal judge. None of that made it fair. You lived longer with a lord than without one. You lived smaller, and your children learned the cost before your name. Think of your hands after one harvest week. Blisters on blisters and a back that will not straighten. Think of that sack your wife mended and the pit that must last to Easter. You patched wattle with dung each Michaelmas and rebuilt the roof with your brother because the carpenter cost a day's wage. No one called it resilience. The village survived because it kept repairing. Now picture those hands as your own for a full year. Could you have survived this? If a detail stayed, leave it below and tell someone else. Subscribe and we will pull the next roll to find what it called you.